Welcome to After the Show, your weekly movie podcast brought to you by A. Scully and Sid Talk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Hello everybody, welcome to After the Show. Hello Sid Talk, how are you doing?
Oh my goodness, you're throwing a very weird voice there when you do that.
I was a ringleader of a circus.
Okay, I will take your word for it. I am fine.
All right, very well done, very good.
All's good, all good.
All right, so what was the before the after the show discussion?
Before the after the show discussion was you fiddling with the sound again. Me fiddling with a logo for a businessy thing. Not a lot, actually. We didn't really have a lot of conversation. I watched a gardening video. You talked about
I told you how depressing the news was.
Yes, you did. So I was trying to block that out. I don't watch a lot of news. And people will think I'm uninformed. That is fine, because knowing the things you just told me doesn't do anything for my life.
It just makes you miserable.
Yeah, so...
All right, so...
Cheery.
Let's get on to some better news. It's Saturday, September the 7th. This is After the Show. Number 807. We're a movie review podcast. Every week we look at a movie. This week we're looking at the movie The Boogeyman. It's a 2023 release. You can get it now on streaming. It's PG-13 from our friends at Disney. Sid Talk, give us a synopsis of the movie The Boogeyman.
There's a creepy thing in the closet that a child can see in the dark. So there you go.
Is it the Boogeyman?
I mean, we can name it whatever we want. It's not fully explained.
No. I'll give you the one off the box.
We all know what the Boogeyman means.
The one off the box is, still reeling from the tragic death of their mother, a teenage girl and a younger sister find themselves plagued by a sadistic presence in their house. They struggle to get their grieving father to pay attention before it's too late.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The theme here is the dad who ignores their needs with their sadly passed on mom. And that's like the root of, and this is a Stephen King short story, if anyone didn't know.
Yes,
just
from 1972.
You know. Right. Stephen King is just notorious for being mired in very sad, broken people and their stories and fears and loneliness and desperation and what that manifests. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. So the dad, we established very quickly that the daughter wants to discuss the mother's dying in a car wreck with the dad. He's a psychiatrist and still doesn't want to discuss it. And then we immediately get someone say, the dude. Okay, so we start off with the dude in a house.
Are we still in the synopsis? I'm confused.
Yeah. The whole thing is...
Feels like the synopsis is more like a review.
We've moved on. Carry on.
We haven't moved on.
So then ask the next question.
All right, the next question is, Sid Talk, how did you like the movie The Boogeyman?
That wasn't the question, but the question should be, can you now tell me the whole story of the
Can you just tell me the whole story and spoil the whole thing, please?
I don't know. There's a lot of spoiling you can do with a movie called The Boogeyman.
No, not really.
And it's Stephen King.
Yeah.
There is no, happy endings in Stephen King movies, are there? Even Pennywise. We're not sure, right?
Actually, no. He's pretty much a downer, isn't he? Debbie
Downer. He's a downer? I don't know if that's why people like it or what.
So, this one, what did you think?
I'm going to yawn.
That's what you thought. You were so bored.
I didn't mind it, so we'll start there.
This is a great review. Put this on the box.
I didn't mind watching it. It was fine. It looks really good. I cared about the people, which doesn't always happen with horror stories of this sort of formula.
Right.
I thought it just was done well, and the only thing I don't like is that we don't have an actual explanation. All we have is the dude in the beginning who's suffered through this thing saying that it can sound like anything it wants. It attaches itself to you. That's it. And then we have a woman later saying it's been around forever.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's it. And that it's in the dark. But it's not always in the dark, right? Because it's a movie. So we can see it a lot, which means I'm nitpicking. Yeah. But so the only thing I don't like is that we don't actually get an explanation or even because so what it is this creepy thing in the dark. And then the child sees it, it skulks around in the dark. And then for some reason it murders children and grown-ups.
Yeah, the movie starts with a murdered baby.
Yeah, and then the dude kills the dad, has already killed his other children. We didn't see that. That's the pre-story. And so later the woman, the mother of the sadly dead children and the deceased husband who loses his mind at the psychiatrist's office, says like it feeds on your fear and your loneliness.
And, misery.
And that when someone's not paying attention to you. Yeah. Is that it? That's my problem with this. And then if it's ancient, like ancient with the universe, then I want a little more, like, and there has to be more than one, right?
Yeah, I think there is more than one. This might be the start of something.
So basing it on a short story means there probably wasn't a lot of detail, and he probably didn't care at the time. It was just like, What
I just read was this guy read the short story, liked the story, and this movie, if you haven't read the short story, serves as the short story and also a sequel in one big go. So it's expanded, basically.
Oh.
So he wrote, he'd made the sequel and the short story. So what I'm getting there from that is the short story wasn't much.
Yeah.
It must have been really short. Because it was a magazine article.
Yeah.
Actually.
Right.
Stephen King wrote, this series of magazine short stories. So I bet it was, a few columns long.
Right. And so you can always expand on short stories. There's a lot that's the beginning of any story. It's a short idea.
Yeah.
This just plays more to the broken family. You're bringing it on yourself because you're not paying attention to your children or because your children are sad and lonely. Because we don't then address the previous family. Were those parents neglectful? Was there a problem in that family? See, I think that's what he's trying to say is this dad is neglecting the children. They feel left alone. They feel abandoned. Therefore, they're afraid more. They're scared more, right? They're right. Lacking in emotional nutrition. And so this thing leeches onto them. But we don't get to find out, in the previous family, let's say, what was that guy's name? Lester was the dad of the family who was, before we get to our story, maybe he was an abusive alcoholic, or maybe there was something else tragic going on, and that brought it. And so it's hopeless then, right?
Yeah.
Because every family, everybody feels lonely and abandoned and afraid at some point in their life. So I think that this thing would have been more, we would have had an expert, not just the crazy lady in her house with the shotgun and the candles, right? We would have somebody from a bookstore. I'm going with tropes here.
I was a little disappointed with that it turned out just to be like a monster that you shoot at.
Yeah, there's nothing mystical about it. It's just a physical being.
Yeah. Not really an explanation of the physical being either. It's just a thing that's gross.
Right, that's been around forever. Yeah. And it feeds on fear. And then we did see it sucking some sort of liquid out of the girl's eyeballs.
Yes.
Like the essence of her, which is what they do in Hocus Pocus.
Right.
To be fair, Hocus Pocus is quite gnarly because these three witches, who are so cute and charming, they like to suck the essence and the life out of children. And it shows it. It comes out in that one. It's like kind of a smoky white little thing, and they're all sucking it up and breathing it in. Disgusting when you think about it. That's all this little dude was doing.
It sounds like something from our local news feed. You know what I'm saying?
Mystical creature sucks the life out of local children. I mean, I'm not putting it past the news people to put that up as a story, but...
Yes. So
what did you think of it?
I thought it was for a movie called The Boogeyman and how it was set up. It was annoying me at the beginning because it was trope after trope after trope after trope. It was psychiatrist's office, teenager with her earphones in, going to school. How many times have you seen that?
The troubled teenager who has, sadly, a dead parent.
Bitchy teenage girls giving the teenager some shit.
Yep.
Home life is real. Why was it so dingy, their house?
Well, their mother's only been gone a month.
I know, but where were there was a lack of lighting for a reason.
Well, I know in most people's homes, and I will say, it's like that. Like I was thinking of my grandparents' house the other day. Dusty. Yeah, the whole, well, again, their mother's been dead for a month, and they're so, that I'm fine with the mess, a little bit of mess for that, but...
It wasn't really the mess, it was more the,
most people
lights.
Don't turn lights on everywhere. My Grandma Helen's house used to be completely dark paneling. Like they built it in the 70s. Every room was covered with dark paneling. All of her furniture was dark wood. All of her little tables and chairs. And so in the evening, she had like 10 lamps in her living room, and she would go through the living room, click, 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 like little lamps with a little bit of light. Not like, not like our lamp that can go at 100% and like it's a photography studio, but like little tiny bits of light. So the corner would have been dark. The hallway was dark. Every bedroom, the lights were off. The carpeting was mostly kind of, darker tones. And if you get to the basement, it was dark because either the switch was at the bottom of the stairs, like crazy people would have, or the string was down at the bottom of the stairs or whatever in different houses. So I thought about that too, but it didn't really bother me because I'm like, well, this feels more realistic.
It feels gloomy and claustrophobic in some way. But like I say, it was full of tropes at the beginning. It was getting on my nerves. There was so many in a row. And then it got to a point where I was kind of enjoying the characters because they are really good, the actors in this.
Yes. Performance is really good. I like them all.
Yeah. And then some scares happen. Some of the scares are just like there's something really loud. So it's quiet and then it's really loud. So you go, which is kind of not really scary, is it? It's just a sensory thing.
I mean, it moves you.
Yeah. But they play it on purpose. Like, we're going to be very quiet for a while. And then, boom, like it might just be a closet door slamming or something, but you're going to get a reaction from it. And then when you do start to see the thing, the boogeyman, I liked how it looked. It was almost like Alien the way it crawled around.
Yep.
It was creepy. It wasn't, maybe not creepy enough for me. This is a PG-13 horror movie, by the way. So it isn't like gory or, I mean, there are some horrific things. The most horrific thing for me was the kid pulling a tooth out.
Yeah.
And that's not really that bad a thing. The little girl's tooth's loose, so they put they do the old trick, tie it around the doorknob and slam the door. But that tooth shows up later on in a horrific scene.
Yes, that was
what grossed me out in the whole movie. It was like that tooth thing. The rest of it, I wasn't really that moved by. Chasing it around the basement and firing like fire at it, while it looked kind of cool, it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't very satisfying.
I agree.
And then there's really no explanation. They just sat outside looking at the carnage going,
their house is burning down.
It's a lot of flash and no substance for me.
Ah, okay.
Because I like some kind of explanation or something. But this kind of leaves it at the end with, oh, we could probably do another one of these, right?
Oh, definitely.
That thing. Where, we've explained nothing to you really in this movie. Apart from there's a thing that thrives on our misery or whatever.
Big surprise.
I mean, we've never heard of that before.
You mean like the one where the trauma is passed from person to person with smile?
Yeah.
And then also it follows.
Didn't Pennywise have something to do with like misery or emotions or something?
The whole of that thing was that he basically bribed the town or overtook the town with like some sort of hypnotic thing, I think. Not sure.
But, Stephen King, I feel like this didn't feel surprising or clever or like, oh, this is an excellent Stephen King story. It just felt like, oh, this is another Stephen King story.
Right.
It's actually made very well. There's really good actors in it. But then at the end of the day, when it comes to the finish, I'm like, I didn't really learn anything. And the baddie...
What did you learn from Fast and the Furious 5?
I learned that Vin Diesel loves his family.
Well, in this one, you learned that families are miserable. So you did learn something.
Oh, yeah. This is to do with family as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. This is.
Oh, okay, so every story is about family.
Pretty much. And the actual thing itself, the boogeyman, which is kind of scary when you think about it, especially from a kid's perspective, which this movie is a little bit from this kid's perspective, of like, I just want to go to sleep now, but there's probably a thing over there that's going to kill me or come and do something.
Freak me out, yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually a scary concept. But then when they show too much of it at the end, where it's running around and it turns into a full-on action movie almost, I was expecting her doing the flamethrower to say, "Get away from me, you bitch."
Nah, she wouldn't say that.
That's where it kind of lost me, because I'm like, I've preferred it to be kind of mysterious rather than just this hunk of meat that's running around that they're chasing after. Because when it became a physical thing and not in people's imagination or whatever it is. Because at first I thought maybe they're just thinking it or dreaming it or it's in the mind like Freddy. But no, it's just this real thing. And whatever it is, who knows? So,
right, we don't get to name it. We don't get anything other than it's been around forever.
And it's not like they hide it. You see the whole thing.
And also, if this was happening,
yeah,
if it's been around forever,
there's this.
It's not just one person's house. And also, the house gets covered with like this grungy, diseased-looking veins, kind of like in Walking Dead, or any virus movie when you get bit or you get stabbed or whatever, and then the virus grows through your veins. Right? We all know what I'm saying. The house has that.
Yep.
And then their house has that. So like 2 houses have it. It's not like, it jumps. There's no explanations at all. I feel like this is my problem.
In the middle of the movie
because I guess I don't care about
where they have a little party for the teenage girls come round.
Yeah.
And the house is weird. Nobody really cares though, do they? The teenage girls don't care.
The house isn't weird though. I think
There's some of that dark stuff.
Oh, you can't really see it, though. And it just looks like a rainy spot on the ceiling. So,
right.
That's fair.
So they're just like, damp. They've got rising damp problem.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of this stuff too. Like, nobody is involved in anything. There's no authorities.
Nope. Nobody calls 911.
No neighbors. It seems like there's nobody.
The little girl gets tossed around by this thing, unconscious, thrown against the wall, thrown against the TV. Then she goes to the hospital. There's no doctor.
No.
Then this young girl goes to a house where there's candles everywhere and a woman with a shotgun telling her about it. As she leaves, the woman shoots at her. She doesn't call 911. Then their house is on fire. Nobody calls 911.
There's a lot of nobodies. Weird. Yeah, you're right. When they go to the hospital with the little girl, and then the next thing, the dad's got the little girl and he's walking towards the house, you're like, oh, is she fine now?
Yeah, there was no... I mean, again, maybe we're brainwashed to tropey things, like their doctor comes in and says she's had a good head.
It's very fast.
Yeah, she's got a hit on the head, and we want to observe her, make sure she does... Nothing at all. Also, like, did anyone ask the father? You would have the police there if a child of that age was beaten up.
Yeah, there's nobody in charge of anything.
No. Maybe that's another level of abandonment?
Yeah.
That we're all ultimately on our own?
Well, the only people left in the world, let's say it's a deserted world with just these people and a couple of psychiatrists.
Okay, yes, a couple. We have the psychiatrist, yeah.
You've got to have psychiatrists in a Stephen King thing, though, right?
Or priest.
Yeah, priest, psychiatrist. When a movie starts with a psychiatrist, I said it the other week, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, a movie started with somebody talking to a psychiatrist. It almost immediately turns me off. I'm like, oh, please. If you're going to do that, please wait a little while.
What do you mean?
Like, you can do it, like, further into the movie. Just don't do it in the opening scene.
Because now we know that someone's either going to be tagged as having mental illness.
Yes.
Or something else. Or
somebody's seen something and they everybody thinks they're mad. Or what's the other trope with a psychiatrist?
Well, that it's, all in your mind.
Yeah. Or you actually are crazy. One of the two.
So it's all in your mind.
Yeah. So that's how I put this movie. It's well made. It has good actors. It's spooky in parts, mostly due to jump scares. But
I mean, it's creepy because the thing does look menacing.
It was decent.
But it's not menacing enough.
The creature was decent because I'm assuming it's a CGI thing, not a puppet.
I would assume.
I wasn't going, oh, that looks shit.
Oh, no, it looked all right.
The movie is in the dark a lot, and sometimes that's annoying, but it wasn't, like, distractingly dark. I mean, clearly this movie is in the dark a lot because this enemy doesn't like light. So
right.
So we're in a lot of dark rooms. We're in the basement. Sometimes it's completely dark.
Wouldn't it be everywhere? It would be everywhere.
The way they explain this creature.
It would be in every cave. It would be in every house, everywhere all the time.
If there was more than one.
Well.
If there wasn't more than one, well, that's the end because this movie dispatched it.
No. You weren't watching that last scene, were you?
No, I'm saying there is more than one.
Yeah.
So the Boogeyman 2 is probably Electric Boogaloo. All right, let's get on to the cast of this movie. All right, Sophie Thatcher plays Sadie Harper. We know her from Yellow Jackets.
Correct.
I thought she was really good here.
Yeah.
She's good at emoting.
I was going to say, she's kind of the same because she's a troubled teen.
Yes.
Who's got a lot of on her mind. And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
But she does a good job at that.
We've got Chris Messina as Will Harper. I would call him one of those anonymous famous actors.
Yeah.
You've seen him a billion times, but you wouldn't know his name.
I was trying to place.
Yeah.
So what else is he in? Because I know I've seen him.
I'll give you some movies he was in. Ruby Sparks, Argo, and Away We Go.
I think he's usually a bad guy.
Oh, he was in Air just recently. He was the guy on the phone who was giving him some advice.
Oh, he was? Yep.
Yeah.
He's usually that guy. Yeah, like a, yep.
He was good too.
Yep.
Vivian Lyra Blair plays the youngest one, Sawyer Harper.
Very good.
She was from Obi-Wan Kenobi. She played young Princess Leia. And she was very good.
She was very good.
Especially that, I mean, there's a cool, this might have been the coolest scene in this movie, the playing the video game part.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool looking scene. And it involved a child getting thrown, let's say.
And a video game.
And David Dastmalchian plays Lester Billings. He's creepy as usual. He's always creepy, that guy.
He is.
I think he was in an X-Files episode where he was creepy. He's just a creepy guy. If you want a creepy guy, it's that guy. I'm not saying he's in this movie much, because he's in one scene, but that's it. This is directed by Rob Savage. He directed a movie called Dashcam, which we've not seen. I can't really comment on him as a director. What do you think of this one, though?
I think it looked really good. Yes, you're sort of, it's lots of compound scares where he's right behind her over here, and then she turns around and he's right there, and then she's over there, he's over there in the corner, and it gets a little bit, you know what I mean? Like either grab the person or get on with it. And then the aversion to light is sort of as and when we need it kind of situation.
Yeah.
That I found a bit lowered the quality, but of certain moments.
But he makes a movie look good.
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah. When you watch something like The Conjuring, where they've spent so much to make it, James Wan goes crazy details. I feel this holds up to that.
I agree.
You know, because it all takes place in a house mostly. IMDb reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews on the website. And they're 1-star reviews that you find hilarious.
Yeah, so these are the people who really don't like this movie. It's the worst experience ever for them.
Aw.
First guy says, this was boring and a waste of time. It was actually worse than the 2005 Boogeyman movie. Boogeyman. He called it Boogeyman with an E.
It does have an E.
Oh, yeah, it does, right.
Oh.
Boogeyman, I'm going to call it.
It's the Boogeyman.
I don't even know why this movie's called The Boogeyman, as he wasn't even really a man.
Maybe missing the point?
I was hoping it would be good, but it wasn't.
Here's the other thing. How do we know this is called The Boogeyman? In the whole of the movie, we have the one lady who's held up in her house because she's trying to defeat it, and all she did was look at the camera and said, "My children called it The Boogeyman."
Yeah.
And that was it.
The second guy says, this film is nothing but a collection of cheap jump scares strung together by a subpar plot that would have been old if it was released 20 years ago. I don't mind jump scares, but this movie just makes a loud noise or a door slams really loudly every 3 minutes. It's just lazy. I mean, I don't 100% agree. I mean, I don't disagree with that.
I don't disagree completely, no.
And the final person says, so this movie's like really dark, like nobody has any lights. As if the movie was trying to make it scary, but it failed. The storyline's very boring. Every screen motion jumped in like, here's the next blah, blah, blah. The younger child in character got bogey. And then she was fine. This is total waste of time. Lucky I got it for a $5 promotion.
Lucky.
Lucky for you, mate.
Lucky man, lucky.
So those are the people who didn't like this movie and hated it.
Fair enough.
So let's give this movie a score. I'm going to give The Boogeyman a 5 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 6 because it looked good. I was interested. I didn't hate anything. It was just a bit, that story part about the thing needs to be better. But as far as like movie experience, it was all right.
They need a better guy at writing stories. Stephen King.
He's
not a story guy. Oh, he is.
No.
He's probably one of the best guys, isn't he?
I don't know about that. That's subjective.
Next week, we're going to look at another horror movie. It's a horror comedy this time. It's called Totally Killer.
Totally
Killer. we'll look at that next week. Movie recommendations. I was thinking of a Stephen King story that I really like. Mm-hmm. And it's the one called The Shining.
You do like that one.
I do. And I also like the sequel. I thought the sequel was really cool too. And I'll give you Evil Dead Rise from earlier this year, because that was a horror movie that had a lot of jump scares, but it was more my speed, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you want mine now?
Yes.
Hold your horses. Let me get over to my little documentation. Okay, so for 2023, I'm going back through all my science fiction movies that I have been watching since the turn of the millennium, whatever. Since the year 2000. I'm up to the year 2021, which means we're almost to the end of this year. Just reminding everyone. And I'm up to Army of the Dead of 2021.
That's Zack Snyder's zombie movie.
Right, and? Did you love it?
Did you like it?
I don't remember.
It was the one in Las Vegas where they did a big heist.
Then there was...
I kind of liked it. It had some interesting ideas.
Yeah. Then there was Black Widow of 2021.
I do like that one.
Chaos Walking 2021.
I don't remember that.
I don't either. Dune Part 1 2021.
Awesome.
Was that 2021?
Yeah.
Holy shit, man. It does not seem like it was 2 years ago. Eternals of 2021.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Marvel.
It was...
interesting. But the problem I have with the Eternals is it's so grand and massive, but then at the end it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Yeah. Doesn't even matter. Yeah.
Yes. So, Scully stuff. I've been playing some more Cyberpunk 2077 Liberty, the Phantom Liberty expansion pack. Not much, though. I've been doing I have been playing it, but I've been doing the side missions. There's this whole side mission plot where you have to steal cars. It's basically Grand Theft Auto. It's like, hey, somebody phones you up and says, can you go and find this car? Then you go and find it, and then you have to drive it back to his garage without damaging it. So I've been just doing that series of missions, which I like it, because that's what Grand Theft Auto was all about, stealing cars. But yeah, it didn't further the story anywhere. And I've also been playing this game on Game Pass called Death's Door. You saw me playing it earlier. You said, oh, what's this little game? Mm-hmm. And it's a game where you're it's another one of those where you have to keep progressing. You'll die, and then you'll level up a little bit, and then you'll progress, and you're almost doing the same thing over and over. You're going through this world. You're taking on these enemies and bosses. And then when you die, this is why it's called Death's Door. You get reincarnated, and you're basically in this bureau of death, they're called, and you're responsible for keeping it's like the area where when you die,
Purgatory.
Purge. You're responsible for keeping that place cool, so people who come to it are good. Keep all the creatures out. So it's called Death's Door. It's on Game Pass. It's really fun. That's what I've been playing. Sitar, what's for dinner?
We don't know for sure. But it could be Jersey Mike's.
Yes.
It could be Subway.
Nice. And what's your advice?
It's not advice. I mean, advice is not advice.
What's your not advice?
It's not advice. It's just this. Being overwhelmed. Oh my God, there's so many things to do or so many things to think about or so much I'm supposed to... Right? It's normal. It's totally normal. If anyone tries to convince you that they don't feel that way when they approach whatever different aspects of life, they are full of shit. Everyone. Every single person. I'm sure all the way back to crawling up out of the sludge and whatever we were then, looking around going, oh my God. Or, oh my gosh, whatever. To the cave people, everything, everybody. That's normal. Because life is a lot, right? Unless you're doing nothing, everything is a lot. Moving through it. That feeling and accomplishing something like just buckling down in your mind or finding some way to cope, whatever it is. And then you move through it and you accomplish this and that and the other. And then you get things done and you move on. That's normal too. Also, not moving through it and getting it all done is also normal. There is no book or rules or standard. There's no anything out there you can look at that's going to tell you this over here is in this column is how you're supposed to be. And this is how we cope with every single thing that you could ever possibly ever imagine having to confront in the whole of your entire lifetime. and here's how you deal with it, and then you'll be fine. If you don't do everything we tell you, then you're going to struggle. No. Every column is just, this is the level of how fucked up things are going to be, and these are some suggestions of how you can get through it. And over here's a column with some more stuff that's going to fuck with your head and your emotions and your life, and then here's some suggestions on how you can deal with it, and it's endless. There is no column or anything that is truth. If someone tries to tell you that they figured out one way for you to cope, they're lying, or they're lying to themselves. So that's it. Being overwhelmed is normal.
Thanks for the not advice. All right, ascully.com is where you can go. You get this podcast. It's also on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube. We're on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can also email feedback to me, ascully@ascully.com, or don't email me, and definitely don't email SidTalk. And finally, stay classy, anybody who makes a horror movie, because we're going to be watching a bunch of them this month.
And I'm going to say, think for yourselves, or someone will do it for you.